CardinalVirtues did a video about the various petitions that are out there now for 30-some states to secede from the United States. Apparently, a lot of people have their feelings hurt, and they think the mature thing to do is to try to secede. And there's this place on the presidential website where people can put up petitions. If they get so many signatures, the president will respond. And, of course, the only one that's got enough signatures for the president to respond so far is Texas. But I found it interesting that California is on the list, too. And this kind of didn't surprise me in a sense. California went very, very blue. Excuse me. This election. We now have a super majority in the state legislature. That means there are 2/3 plus of the state house and the state senate are Democrats, and they can pretty much pass anything they want. They also have enough to override the governor's veto should that happen. So I can see why Republicans would want to leave. As a matter of fact, there are some people already talking about that. I'll link you to an article in the Huffington Post. This isn't the first time that parts of California have tried to secede. One of the most famous ones is the revolt of the state of Jefferson in 1941. And Stanton Delaplane was a young reporter at the time. Those of you who are from the San Francisco area might remember him from way, way back when he wrote for the San Francisco Chronicle. He's a fantastic writer. But he won the Pulitzer Prize for his series of articles about the state of Jefferson. He's also famous in other circles for being the guy who brought Irish coffee to San Francisco. I think he's probably more famous for that one than for his articles on the state of Jefferson. But as you can see from the map, there are certain coastal, a lot of the coastal areas, the heavily populated areas, go very strongly for Barack Obama. My little county here, Santa Cruz, I think, the last I looked, all the votes weren't in. We were something like 75% for Obama and 23%, I think, for Romney. I don't know what it was in the end. And I remember San Francisco was slightly ahead of us in terms of percents for Obama, but not too much. Maybe 77% or something. I don't know what it ended up being. It was kind of useless to kind of watch at that point. So California went heavily blue. And some of the reasons that California went heavily blue is if you count up all the minorities in the state and you add them together, they outnumber the white folks. And it is estimated that by 2020, Hispanics in the state of California will outnumber whites. So this is we have a very, very, very diverse population. Much of that diverse population is, of course, in the cities, and it's in the cities, the heavily populated areas, that went strongly Obama. So, of course, somebody is now bringing up the let's split up California. This has been done many, many times before, as I mentioned. I think there's something in the law when California became a state that it could split into up to as many as 5 states. I don't know. I'll have to look that up. That's not particularly relevant because it's not going to happen. It's just not. The rural sections of the state, which are the ones that usually, the rural and the mountainous, which are the ones that usually want to secede, could not possibly sustain themselves without the rest of the state. And that's part of the point of CardinalVirtues video, which I suggest you watch, because, so Texas secedes, and where are they going to get their army, and so on and so forth. But one of the things I noticed, I decided to go and take a look at the California petition, which again is really funny. Like, California, heavily blue, is going to want to secede right now. Yeah, right. But somebody will. And I noticed while looking at this something very interesting. And so I decided to do some totals here. So what I did was, as you can see, is I did a list here where I put the number of, I went down, and there's like 4 across in a row, 4 signatures in a row. And I went down and I counted how many were from California, how many did not state where they were from, and how many were not from California. Because there seemed to be a lot not from California. And I wanted to get about 100. There's something like 6,500 signatures right now. And I wanted to get at least 100. And I ended up with just sort of, I did like a bunch and went, oh, that's about 55. So then I did a bunch to just sort of guesstimate, and I got 124. So that's fine. So out of my 124, that I found, well, it's more than 124. It's 124 lines, which adds up to a total of 496 signatures. Okay, you can see over here, because this far right blue column there, what I did was I added everything across to make sure there were 4 in case I made some mistakes, which I did. And on the column to it, every 4 I put the name of the last person, so that if I made mistakes I could go back, or if I got distracted, something happened, I could go back. So it's 496 signatures, electronic signatures, of course. 109 of those don't state where they're from. So if you take those out, you get 387 signatures. Of those 387 signatures, 55.6% of them are from states other than California. Oh, and the District of Columbia, I saw a couple of those in. 55.6%. So I'm kind of wondering, is the rest of the United States trying to kick us out here? Let's get rid of that big blue thing over there, and then we'll be happy. So I found this kind of amusing that 55.6% of the signatures are not from California. I think try to get rid of us again won't work. Sorry, won't work. We're here to stay. Anyway, thanks for listening. Bye.